Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to Great Shot Kid, the podcast on the Nerd Party Network that focuses on the works of Star Wars creators both inside and outside the Star Wars galaxy. I'm one of your hosts, John.
And I'm Mike.
And we are here today to discuss a hot topic, a new rumor that has sprung up. A rumor that comes back every so often about the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie that supposedly we're going to get, but we know we're never going to get.
Yeah.
It's the trip to the Cracker Factory in the Simpsons episode where they're watching Poochie's introduction and they never get to the Cracker Factory. And Milhouse is crying, when are we going to get to the Cracker Factory? Never. We're never going to get to the Cracker Factory. But we might, because there's a rumor that it's coming back, and they'll announce it at Celebration.
Yeah. I mean, I will believe this rumor when it actually occurs, you know.
Yeah.
But it's still fun to ponder on occasion.
Oh, of course. I mean, if they were to, there are two things that Disney could do that would absolutely blow the minds of every Star Wars fan that wants to love the Disney version of the Star Wars universe. And that is to release the unaltered original trilogy and do an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. One or both of those people will sign over children to Disney from that point forward.
I would sacrifice the second one for the first one in a heartbeat. You know, people are excited about an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, and you know, if they come out with an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, I'll be like, I will see that movie. You know.
Yeah.
But like on the long list of Star Wars movies that I want to see, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I would say lower middle. Well,
I think we're in a difficult time to want an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie specifically because of what just happened on Star Wars Rebels.
That has nothing to do with it for me.
that has everything to do with it for me because I would have thought that would have made a terrific Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Would have ended with that resolution. That would have been great. And it would have been a big screen way to tie in all of the works that have happened. It would have made the diehards happy. It would have made casual fans confused. And it would have been wonderful.
Yeah, it would have been one or two of those things, for sure. For sure, without a doubt. It would have been one or two of those things.
It could be so artistic. So artistically done.
It could.
It was.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
look, here's the thing.
Insist on being difficult about
that
this.
episode was good.
Great.
Period. End of sentence.
Okay, look, it wasn't perfect. There was a little too much build up and not enough actual conversation at the end. I'll give you that. But the way that this arc that has been going on for years was resolved it was a great resolution of that arc. That's what I will maintain.
It was a great resolution to an arc which arguably should have never existed.
You're wrong.
Okay.
So wrong. Who cares whether it should or shouldn't have existed? There are so many things that weren't going to or that were last-minute decisions. If anybody's watched Breaking Bad, one of the most beloved characters on that show, Mike Ehrmantraut, was supposed to die he was a one-shot character. He was supposed to be in one episode, one and done. And they decided, I don't know if he was supposed to die, but he was only supposed to be one and done. And they had such a positive reaction to the character. They're like, oh, sure. So technically, Mike Ehrmantraut's plot line, which is now in the prequel series, Better Call Saul, that shouldn't have existed either, but it was beautiful and well worth it.
I'm perfectly fine with that. But it's not like they killed him and then brought him back, in Better Call Saul, which let's say would take place after, that. And it's like, oh, we thought you killed him, but no, you really didn't kill him. And now let's have like a storyline which spans 2 TV shows and a few comic book miniseries and a book. And
you know what? It is.
What else?
It is an example of just way out there. Come on. What kid playing with their stuff didn't find ways to resurrect their favorite characters or have some big crash? It's like, oh, but they were really okay and they just had a fake arm and stuff like that. It's that spirit of fun. That's what defines Star Wars for me and so many other people is get crazy. You know what? You love to say get crazy with it, right? Don't you say get crazy with it? They got
right,
crazy
and
with it.
and that's fine. But if you're going to do that, do it on something like that cartoon that never happened. The one that the robot
The
chicken
comedy
people
show?
were doing. Yeah, do it with that. Why not?
The plot line.
I mean, there's
Maul's
a difference
story
between
was so cool.
No, see, there's a difference between getting crazy with it and getting crazy stupid with it.
Wasn't crazy stupid?
Like
No
getting
way.
getting crazy with it. Like here's my dream Star Wars movie. Like way beyond Obi-Wan Kenobi. My dream Star Wars movie is like Max Rebo band in the style of This Is Spinal Tap. You say that, and I'm like, oh, like if they announce that at Celebration, my head will explode right there.
See,
and then I'll have to get some weird witch people to put me back together just so that I can watch this movie when it comes out in 3 years.
Yeah, and we'll do that, Mike, because I
Okay.
can't imagine a world where I wouldn't watch that. I would come out to your home base of operations and I would see it in the theater with you.
All right.
Although I would offer this spin on it that I don't want it in the style of This Is Spinal Tap. I want it in the style of The Commitments. I want Max Rebo narrating the life story of his band through the entire thing and how they almost had stardom and then blew up on a sail barge.
That would be awesome. I would watch the hell out of that.
And you find out he's like a blue Force ghost, but you can't tell he's a Force ghost because he was blue to begin with.
I'd be okay with that. That would be cool. That would be cool.
awesome. Yeah.
That's what they should be doing. That's what I mean by
But
getting
the
crazy
Maul
with
plot line was still great. But
fine.
it was great. What we were talking about is the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie that supposedly might be rumored to be happening again.
Yes.
In the first place,
And
of
I
course,
mean, I think neither of us really think this is going to happen, but it offers the opportunity to engage in this fun exercise.
right, which is an exercise we love to play along, which is the dream directors. Who would we pick? Who would we pick of the directors we've seen and know and love to direct an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie? And the thing is, the one caveat I'll put on this is I think that who we pick will definitely. I mean, I know for me, it skews toward. It very much speaks to, in some circumstances, the type of movie I expect an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie to be. So I'm already
I would
casting
agree
an
with that.
expectation.
Definitely, my choices are in that vein. Yeah.
Well, then why don't you kick us off? Who's number one on your list, or any order? It doesn't need to be your top pick, anything like that. Who came to mind first for you?
Okay, well, I mean, as far as like what movie I kind of expect it to be, or the type of thing, like I would expect it to be, and kind of would hope it to be a Tatooine bound show. I don't really want to see him in space. It doesn't really make any sense for him to be in space. Maybe you have some people coming to Tatooine, but in that sense, and the fact that he is such a loner and it is the middle of the desert, the setting and everything like that, I totally expect this to be in the style of a Western, right?
Yes.
And there's two types of Westerns, as everyone says. There's the Western where, the man comes to town, the man with no name comes to town to save the townsfolk. And then there's the one where the black hat, the villain, comes to the town, and then the town, whatever. Anyway, so I'm
Right.
kind of like thinking in that sort of vein, like people who have done that sort of thing, but are kind of outside of the box ways and everything. And my first selection, I'm going in, it doesn't matter. I'll save the best for last. But
Okay.
my first pick ties into what we were talking about with Breaking Bad, and it's Michelle MacLaren, who was
nice choice.
the lead director, or one of the lead directors on Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad to me feels almost like a Western in a lot of ways. Maybe it is just the setting or whatever, but add to that the fact that McLaren has done work on things like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. And, while she doesn't have much experience on the big screen, she's done some of the most cinematic television in history.
Yeah.
And, I think everyone's just kind of waiting for her to make an epic, on the big screen. And
Sure.
I think this could be that movie.
I like your pick. I think that's a great pick. That would be really, really interesting to see. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. It should be Tatooine bound. Maybe you see people come in on a ship or something if you're desperate to get them out of the location, or they're traveling across from Anchorhead or something like that.
Max Rebo, you got to have a Max Rebo character.
Well,
cameo.
you know what? He's got to be starting in the cantina. Before the Bith played in that cantina, Max Rebo was there. And there's your tie-in to Return of the Jedi right there. Is there the house band before the Bith come in? So boom. We already wrote a major element for the movie right there.
Wait,
major
the
background
Bith?
element. Huh?
The Bith? Is
Yeah,
that the
the
name
Bith.
of the race?
Yes. The guys with the bulbous eyes.
Because the name of the group is Figrin Dan and the Modal Nodes.
Modal nodes, yeah.
Okay, whatever. Yeah. There you
Yeah,
go.
no, sorry. Force of habit.
That's
Force
fine.
Yes.
That's fine. Okay.
But yes, it's the Biff. But never, ever will we say on this podcast what the name of the type of music that they're playing is. You don't know that, do you?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. Yeah. Somebody had a lot of fun with that one. And I remember reading that for the first time and saying, huh, really? You got away with that one, huh?
That's an
Okay.
interesting. Whoever came up with that title was a real son of a Bith.
Well done. Well done. Okay, so keeping in mind with epic, big, but really able to deal with character and scope and scale and stuff like that, but also somebody who has demonstrated an ability to bring in some comedy and deal with comedy. On my list is F. Gary Gray, director of Straight Outta Compton and The Negotiator, which was a big factor for me. And the fact that I believe he directed Friday.
Yes, he definitely 100% directed Friday.
Could give us a good opportunity for some funny moments in an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, I think.
I just thought of something. Like, if that were to have happened, like if F. Gary Gray were announced then this would most likely happen on the day that his new movie, The Fate of the Furious, is released.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be? And so if you want somebody that can do big action, you got somebody that can do big action, obviously.
Yeah. Have you seen the reviews of this thing? Because did you hear they did a surprise screening at CinemaCon, which is the theater owners convention?
Yeah, okay.
Like, Vin Diesel came out and he's like, surprise, you guys are going to get to see Fate of the Furious right now. And
awesome.
Yeah, the reviews coming out of it have been very, very positive. So
that's awesome. Well, I noticed that some jerk over on Rotten Tomatoes already gave it like 1 star. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, you went in and wanting to hate that thing. No, but yeah, F. Gary Gray. He's one of my favorite directors, in all honesty. And the 3 movies I mentioned are 3 movies that I love. I think he'd be great, and I think that he's demonstrated an ability, especially Straight Outta Compton, an ability to build really intriguing and clearly defined characters in a big scale, and that works for me. So who's next for you?
Next for me, it would be Denis Villeneuve.
I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. He did most recently Arrival. He's also doing Blade Runner 2049 or whatever they're calling it. And then he did he's going to be doing Dune. And but the movie, it's not Arrival which sticks out to me as far as why, they should get him. It's the movie that he did right before Arrival, Sicario. That movie is amazing, and it is also very much a Western, and the action and everything is like really, really good, and the character stuff is really where it's at. I mean, all of his stuff is very much character based. He's obviously a huge sci-fi fan, having created his own original with Arrival, and now he's about to do Blade Runner and Dune, and I mean the fact that he's willing to jump onto these big properties, who's to say that he wouldn't do a Star Wars movie? And to be quite honest, I think that given his sensibilities, like an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie would be kind of a perfect fit for him.
Sure. Yeah, it's well reasoned. Works for me. I'm not terribly familiar with him, but he's gotten a lot of positive talk, a lot of positive press, and everything you're saying seems to line up with why. So sure, that would work.
I'm pretty sure that Sicario is on Amazon Prime right now.
It is. It's on my queue. I desperately want to watch it.
I highly recommend watching that movie because it's amazing.
I promise I will watch it this week. I do. It's on. It is literally. It's on my list of next movies to watch.
Cool.
So I promise you, I will watch it. Next on my list, keeping in line with the Western theme, of course, is James Mangold. I have not seen Logan as of this recording, but I have seen a movie that sells me on the idea that he could do a movie about a reluctant hero that has to go along with a band of people.
Night and Day?
3:10 to Yuma, the remake.
Yeah.
You didn't like that?
No.
Wow. Okay, because for me, 3:10 to Yuma was fantastic. I was spellbound the entire time. I adore that movie. I think it's wonderful. You can debate the very end of it, like the last 30 seconds of it, but the movie I thought was compelling and great, and I would love a movie where Kenobi had to get into a situation, like he's trying to live on the down low, and he has to get into a situation where, I mean, wouldn't it be great if he had to shepherd some jerk through the wild, the Jundland wastes, and he's, to give some sort of, context to the Jundland wastes are not to be traveled lightly, right? Have it happen in the Jundland wastes, and he has to get somebody to safety who he doesn't want to get to safety, but he's felt honor bound, and if he says I can't do this, then it's going to give away, certain things, and so it's a journey where you go through and you get to learn about Kenobi, and there are all these interesting conversations. Why did you not like 3:10 to Yuma?
I honestly have no idea anymore. I saw it once in the theater, and I've never seen it since. And I just remember thinking, like, this is so boring, So I mean, I couldn't tell you anything about it. I could watch it again and tell you why I don't like it, but I don't want to do that. But I will say that, like, all of the points that you're making. You could just, if we wanted to in editing even, we could just take out the word 3:10 to Yuma and replace it with Logan, and it would apply, Well, so I agree with your choice, because, Logan is pretty much exactly what you described,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, then, great. There you go.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
I agree. And he's someone who came to mind. He didn't make my top 5, but he's definitely someone who came to mind for this movie.
Excellent. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. I wasn't too far off base, although, I mean, seriously, like, I loved 3:10. Was I under the influence of something?
No, a lot of people love it. A lot of people love it. Yeah.
Good. Because, I remember watching it and saying, and it was one of those movies, and this happens on occasion, where I watch it and I said, I wish I had seen this in the theater, because I would have loved to have seen it on the big screen, and I would have loved to give support to a movie like this, because I want to see more of this.
It's weird. Like, Mangold has made a number of movies where they're like, people are like, this is amazing. 3:10 to Yuma is one. Walk the Line is another one.
Oh wow, he did Walk the Line. Yeah. I didn't realize that. Yeah, okay.
And then
that was good.
And then he also did the Wolverine. And all 3 of those movies were movies where people came out and they're like, this is where it's at. James Mangold is such an amazing director. And I'm like, all of those movies I watched, and I was like, not impressed at all by any of these movies. And then there's one movie which I saw where I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This Mangold, this is clearly his best movie. I love this thing. This is so great. This is what everyone's talking about. And then the critics, come out and they're like, this movie's total garbage. And I'm like, what? And that movie is Night and Day. I really, really love Night and Day. I don't understand why no one else likes it.
I still have to, quote unquote, have to see it. So
it's good. It's good for sure.
You know what? I don't doubt it. That came out at the height of Tom Cruise's hated phase. Yes,
it was like post
phase.
Mission Impossible 3, when people were trying to figure out whether or not he was still a star, that kind of thing. Yeah. It's really good. It's really charming. It's a lot of fun. The action is very well done. And nothing about it speaks Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it is definitely worth watching nonetheless.
All right. So who else is on your list? Who's next?
Well, next for me would be Antoine Fuqua.
Good choice.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, let's be honest. Antoine Fuqua can direct whatever the hell he wants, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm there. I mean, recently he did do a Western, with Magnificent Seven, which, maybe not the best movie in the world. But there are a lot of movies which he's done, which I think sort of take on this kind of philosophy, going all the way back to his very first one, The Replacement Killers, with Chow Yun-fat. That's maybe not a Western, but it does sort of apply in this sense of like, a lone hero, someone who's, caught on the wrong side of justice in a lot of ways, and comes to terms with his own immorality in a sense, and decides to do the right thing. I think The Equalizer is a very similar movie in that regard, and I mean, you can even look at stuff like Training Day and stuff like that, and you just kind of like see things. Tears of the Sun, all of his movies kind of are the same.
Tears of the Sun was an interesting thing.
I like that movie.
I didn't hate it, but I remember seeing it in the theater, and I remember I guess my reaction was similar to how you described your reaction to 3:10 to Yuma, where I'd have to watch it again to tell you specifically what I didn't like, and I don't feel inclined to do so.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't think it's a fantastic movie, but I do think it's good,
But Fuqua is a good director. He was actually, I guess like Mangold with you, it's like it's a name that came up to me. He just didn't make my list. But I mean, if they said he was directing it, I'd be like, okay, cool, I'm down with that.
He would kill it, and I mean, he's like one of those people where I would kind of be surprised if he doesn't make a Star Wars movie at some point down the road. He just seems like that type of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that happening. And oh man, that would be the best day ever. So
Well, speaking of best day ever, I'm going to save the best day ever for last on my list.
Yeah.
But somebody who would also be a potential best day ever for me would be Michael Mann. Because I think he can do just about anything. And that's the funny thing is, like, usually when I make directors lists, I think like you with Soderbergh, I'm like, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
But even I'm willing to say, you know what? Maybe Chris could take this one off. Maybe he could just sit off of this list just so I can give why, he's got a director emeritus slot. So we'll just consider him an unspoken choice,
right,
at this point.
That's fair.
Michael Mann, though, is, I think, an amazing director. I've loved just about everything that he's done. Even Ali, which a lot of people didn't.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I
really want to see. He did like a new cut of it.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
Where he basically sort of like changed the tone to make it more, I think, like political, like focus more on his.
Interesting.
Yeah, people say it's really good. I don't know. I definitely need to check that out. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that Manhunter is great. That's an example of a reluctant hero who has to come back and face an evil to overcome it. I think that Last of the Mohicans shows that he can do epic scale. I think the Collateral shows that he can do, epic scale, but in a very intimate way. I think that and action scenes. I mean, come on, the Tom Cruise fight scene in Collateral in the nightclub is insane.
Yeah.
And you have Heat, obviously, which is, I mean, that's like Manhunter is like the prologue to Heat. It's like the warm up for that film. And so I think that he has a deft grasp of character and pacing and tone. And in Ali, he got a great performance out of Will Smith, bringing along a very nuanced picture of a larger than life character, which I think would be very necessary in an Obi-Wan movie. You got to ground him, make him very human. Mm-hmm. And so Michael Mann, and I mean everything that he films. I haven't seen literally every film that he's ever done, but everything that he films that I've ever watched is gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
And so even if the script isn't great, I'll still enjoy treating my eyeballs to it.
Yeah. I don't know if you're aware of this, but next month they're releasing a restored version of the Heat director's cut on Blu-ray.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's going to be 4K restoration, and the special one of the special features, like the big special feature, is a Q&A that Michael Mann and I think some other people did, which is moderated by Christopher Nolan.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Well,
Yeah.
what I can tell you is that Heat is always going to be memorable for two things. I saw it the same week that I got my wisdom teeth extracted. So even though I was in tremendous blinding pain and on management drugs for it, I was riveted to the screen for the entire running time. And I remember looking over at my brother with cotton in my mouth and saying, "That was awesome." And I also remember, who can forget that gun battle that happens when they hold up the bank? Heat will always jump out to me as one of the handful of movies where the sound is correct.
Yeah.
Where it's deafening and it's like, like that is what guns sound like, folks.
Right.
Like
But
it
they-
is awful.
But they don't sound like cannons, you know. They're
It depends on the caliber.
But this I mean the caliber sounds appropriate, you know. It's loud, but it's not like
Right. It's not the that sound. Right. Yeah. It's actually, you can tell that these were, this is how this gun battle would have actually sounded. And that, and that's another thing that you got to give Mann credit for, is he knows how to use sound. I mean, look at the soundtrack for Last of the Mohicans is so weird because it was one thing and then he was changing it to another thing and couldn't meet the deadline. And the soundtrack is still one of the best soundtracks I've ever listened to for a film, even though it's like half synthesizer with, it's like, it's this weird mishmash, but he made it work so beautifully. You don't care, that's my effusive praise of Michael Mann. So
it's good. Good choice.
Oh, thanks, man. Who's next for you?
Next for me is probably about as unobtainable as Michael Mann, but whatever. It is what it is. It's George Miller.
Oh gosh, that would be. You're thinking like a Mad Max type of Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
Yeah, but
right,
hey,
I'm on
if
board.
he's willing to take some meetings at DC for the new Superman movie, then come on, he's willing to take some meetings for Star Wars too, right?
Yeah, I'd
come
say
on.
so.
So I would. I mean, come on, yes, Mad Max, but with Obi-Wan Kenobi instead of Mad Max. Mad Obi-Wan, Mad Ben, Mad Ben.
Ooh,
there you go.
Mad Ben. I like that. I like that very much.
I mean, can you imagine like the first shot of like Fury Road, but with Obi-Wan Kenobi, just the way that starts off, where like Obi-Wan Kenobi
it's a land speeder instead of the muscle car,
and he's peeing, and then like a little womp rat runs by, and he steps on it.
Well, womp rats are 2 meters. You'd want a desert skitterer, Mike.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I mean, come on. I mean, that would be amazing.
I agree.
Oh, God.
I couldn't agree more. That would be a very, very fun thing to see. Miller, he's had an interesting career for sure. And I think that Fury Road forgave a lot of sins and missteps in his past that he's had, and shown that he still has a tremendous vision. And that's the thing, is Miller would be great. A lot of these would be great because you'd be dealing with people who aren't just directors, but filmmakers who, when they come to a project, they have a singular vision. And the thing that would always worry me about names like these coming on board is, are they going to get reshot to death? Are they going to get, yes, that's very artistic, and now we're going to bring in Gilroy, and he's going to make it tie into the TV series?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just some tricky territory, but I mean,
Sure.
I guess my thinking is like the people who they would bring, if they bring in people of this caliber, they're going to be turning out a product which is good enough that, the powers that be will be like, that's fine, that's cool, we will go with that.
Well, I think an Obi-Wan movie, more so than Rogue One, absolutely, and would probably be more in the same vein as I think the Han Solo movie is going to be, where there's going to be far less pressure to tie it into anything. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be designed to plug into, this is the events of what happens right before Episode 4, because we already got that.
Yeah.
At worst, it'll be like, this is what happened right after Episode 3, but there's a lot less pressure about where it has to end. Mm-hmm. And how it has to get there.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more nebulous space in there for them to navigate. I mean, they could have the movie jump through several years in the progress of it, and have the movie take place over the course of 10 years or something. So
I know that you've been offline recently, but have you heard about the Han Solo thing?
Nope.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you?
No, maybe on the other side of the briefing room.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Because
fair enough.
if it's potential spoiler territory, I don't want Great Shot Kid to be responsible for spoiling somebody's Han Solo experience.
Everyone this was something which, what's his name, said at a stockholders meeting. It's not like it's...
Okay, go ahead then. It's not a spoiler.
It's going to take place over the span of a few years. It's going to take place over like 6 years or something like that.
Oh, I'm really glad to hear that. That's cool. That means that they're doing something that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's not going to be something that takes place in the span of 4 days or less, or something like that.
The other thing, which I guess you've missed, which is going to, which set the internet on fire and, probably whatever, is he's like, we'll also find out how Han Solo got his name.
It's because it's a code name from when he was running Chewie to Kashyyyk to visit his family.
Okay, I would assume that it was because his parents were, Mr. and Mrs. Solo were like, let's name him Han.
No, there was because I know that, and this is probably taken from the Lucas Bible, that Han, there was speculation, like nobody knew for sure, but Luke, I forget what worked. I mean, I've read so much stuff over the years, but one of the things was like Luke pondering that maybe Solo was an assumed name because Han always saw himself as alone. Mm-hmm. But then there was the odd flip of, always Chewbacca was there with him, so he wasn't really, and so, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. So, all right, this wouldn't be the first time that he's... Okay, interesting. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, no, cool. But I forget specifically what work. If anybody remembers what that is, you're either older or just have a better memory than I do. So
maybe the John Daly books or something.
Brian Daly books, possible,
yeah.
But no, Luke isn't in those because that all takes place in the corporate sector.
Oh yeah,
which
yeah,
I think
yeah.
Like still exists, but might have been renamed the Federation when the prequels came around. But the idea of a corporate sector, like controlled by companies, is very much from the very early days of Lucas, because Daly leaned very much on those, the Lucas Bibles, for the story structure and everything.
Yeah, interesting.
So interesting. You've never read them?
I think, do they do comic book adaptations of them at one point?
Probably.
I think I read those.
Well. Yeah.
Daly's it was always writer. Something which it was intriguing to me. I never got around to it.
Well, Daly also did the Star Wars radio dramas.
Yeah, that's cool.
And his treatment of Solo is very loving in those. He obviously understood and enjoyed. I personally hope that when they're making this Han Solo movie, there's some sort of nod to those works, because...
Well, they say that the radio dramas are canon, where they don't contradict.
They contradict in so many places, though. They really, really do.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So, okay.
So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is actually Catherine Bigelow, because she's a great director, but also because I think that Hurt Locker shows that she can do a piece that's focused on a singular character in difficult circumstances, who's got a lot of questions about what he's doing and why he's doing it and the situation that he finds himself in. And so I think that she'd be able to handle a story like that. And, I think that it would be a much more... the word's overused, but a much more intimate portrayal of Kenobi that you would find in it. And I think that, her work on Strange Days, shows that she could probably create a, companion character for him that would be a good foil, would be a good sounding board. And there would be, I know that there would be really good dialogue in it.
Yeah. She's, one of my favorites, because of stuff like Strange Days and Zero Dark 30 and everything like that. So I would totally be on board with her directing anything. Although, like, if you were to sort of like point to her let's say, quote unquote, Westerny work, I guess the first thing that comes to mind for me is a movie which I just saw for the very first time, and that's Near Dark.
Tread lightly, Mike. Tread lightly, Mike. I'm warning you.
I mean, it was perfectly fine, I guess.
I guess.
It was fine. It was a fine move. I was so excited. This is how excited I was. I sacrificed seeing Blade Runner on the big screen in order to see Near Dark on the big screen, as a blind, watch. And I was definitely disappointed by the end result, but I can see why people like that movie. Like, there's like 2 or 3 moments in there which are like stellar, and I think people remember those moments and don't sort of remember the rest of the movie on the whole. They have like fond memories of like key sequences which stand out, and that's my take on it anyway.
Well, I think that it's the danger of any cult movie is that it over time gets built up so much. I feel myself fortunate to have seen it on VHS for the first time when I was a wee lad, and my friend had seen it and was like, "Oh, you got to see Near Dark." And I saw it, and I guess I was young enough where it just created that sense memory impression. Like, I'm sure that if I showed Highlander, the original Highlander, to somebody for the first time who had never seen it, the reaction would not be what I would be hoping for, because when you see a movie, especially in terms of its hype cycle, very much affects your reaction to it.
Yeah. Yeah, Highlander is a movie which probably if I saw in a vacuum I wouldn't like, but that to me is sort of like intrinsically linked to like the sci-fi fantasy club at my high school, and because of that, not to mention the music,
Well, yeah, the music's awesome, and Queen redeems itself for Flash Gordon with that one.
Okay, you know what? Now, who needs to be treading lightly here? Because
no. See, you're about to defend Flash Gordon.
That Flash Gordon soundtrack is amazing.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about redeeming themselves for being involved in the movie Flash Gordon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. Because see, here's the thing. Like, I'm a huge fan. Like, Queen is like my number one band. Like, I have all of their
They're awesome,
albums.
man. I'll never speak ill of Queen.
Yeah, I mean, they're the best, right? And because of that, because I had, I at one point got to a point where I'm just like, I need all of Queen's albums and I need to just listen to them repeatedly, in chronological order. And that included the Flash Gordon soundtrack. And I had not seen Flash Gordon. I was listening to that soundtrack for like a good 10 years before I saw the movie. And I had made that movie in my mind because there's a lot of dialogue and everything on the soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know what this movie is. I know exactly what this movie is. This movie is amazing, and I can't wait to see it. And I finally saw it, and I'm like, this is not the movie they did the soundtrack for. I don't know what movie this is, but it's different, and it's terrible. So, but that soundtrack
VHS
is
rental
amazing,
place?
though. What?
VHS rental place, you mixed up. You've got some tape that has the wrong soundtrack with this movie. Give me the one that Queen actually worked on.
Oh, well, what can you do? But yes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
much.
Highlander, it's amazing. Yeah.
The quote unquote European cut, far superior to the American cut. Because there are certain things
that's the director's cut, like with the extra 16 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. Is it director's cut? Is it
I don't
European?
know. That's one of those movies that has like 5 cuts for it or whatever.
Well, no, Highlander 2 has like 6,000 cuts, and they all suck.
The Renegade version and everything.
Just don't even. I could do a whole 2-hour diatribe about Highlander 2, and just it broke my. It's the Fredo of my fandom experiences. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
But Highlander had. Like it was sort of like the Professional had a European version and an American version.
Okay.
Highlander had a European version and an American version. In both circumstances, the European version has like a scene or two in there where you're like, oh, I love the American version, but that makes a lot more sense now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you find out how he saved his secretary's life when she was a kid. He saved her from the Nazis. And that's why she's so dedicated to him over time and everything.
Right,
but
right.
you actually see that moment in the past and everything. So
I think that's what they're billing as the director's cut these days. But
yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so. Probably because he saw it and he was like, yeah, that's the version I like.
Yeah.
So who's next on your list?
Okay, well, this is my number one choice, and I know it'll be a controversial one or whatever, but who cares? So my number one choice is Robert Rodriguez. I mean, I know that, maybe he's kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of people or whatever. That's, I mean, understand it and, that's fine or whatever. But I see this as being a different thing. I also see him being in sort of a renaissance right now. I mean, he's doing Alita Battle Angel for James Cameron, and, all signs point to that being awesome. I'm the one person in the world who cannot wait to see his remake of Escape from New York. And yes, I would love to see him direct a Star Wars movie, and I think he would do a really cool job with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, you look at like his early work, especially like the Desperado, the El Mariachi movies. I think that totally, locks into that, sort of like mindset, of an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. He can do action like nobody's business and everything. He's obviously fine with special effects. And I think like if you give Robert Rodriguez the resources that Lucasfilm has, he could make an amazing movie. And I would love to see it.
I'd be down with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hold any particular grudge against him. I mean, I think we've talked about it before. Spy Kids is actually a good movie.
Oh yeah,
so
sure.
He's obviously able to make something that's accessible to kids, but at the same time tolerable to adults, which is essentially the niche that Star Wars found was, it appealed to all ages. So I could see that work. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Just I mean, just don't make another From Dusk Till Dawn, and everybody will be happy.
Wait, what?
So
you don't like From Dusk Till Dawn?
I do not.
I didn't know this about you, or else I would have never done this podcast with you. What?
I saw it in the movie theater.
Uh-huh.
And I know how you feel about gear shifts, and the movie definitely has a gear shift.
The best gear shift.
Is it?
Yes.
Because maybe I need to rewatch it.
Yes.
That's entirely possible. But
Yes.
I remember seeing it in the movie theater and totally getting into it. And I was into what it was doing. And I was like, this is so cool. Hey, look, Tarantino's actually managing to act. That's even better.
Yeah.
And going along, and I'm like, Harvey Keitel, of course. Yeah, this is really interesting. This is really, what just happened? What just, now it's goofy. What just happened? Like, it was so disorienting in the movie theater that I had a very negative reaction to it. And maybe I need to see it again. Maybe I had too much invested in expecting to see a Quentin Tarantino movie, and that's what it gives you in the beginning. So I was like, yeah, this is another Tarantino. What? And it just did that to me. And that is why it sort of didn't work for me.
That's insane. That's insane.
The last time I saw it was in the movie theater. That's how long it's been since I watched it.
We just had the 20th anniversary. Actually, we just had the 21st anniversary because it came out in early 96 or whatever. It's time for a rewatch.
All right. I will, you know what? I'll take the Pepsi challenge, and I'll rewatch it after Sicario, though.
Okay.
I got to watch Sicario first.
Okay. Fair enough. So what's your number one absolute, blow me away?
George Lucas.
Okay.
Woo him. Bring him back. You created this character. Do an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie the way that George Lucas wants to do it. Show us what you always intended for this character. Let him have a shining moment. He'd never do it. And so the backup choice that's just like having Lucas do it in my book. And yes, I know he's never done a live action big screen movie, but I would let Filoni do it. I know you're shaking your head, but I would give it to Filoni. At the very least, with all of these directors, I want Filoni involved because Filoni is on record as talking about how he had very long conversations with Lucas about what Obi-Wan was doing and where Obi-Wan was. And Filoni would express the same voice and intent that Lucas would have had. But I would love to see Lucas come back without the pressures of doing the big Skywalker family story and say, you know what, you wrote this guy. You knew where he came from originally. And it's one final... and you know what? Let him make it weird. Let him make it THX 1138. Yeah. Let him make it American Graffiti weird. Let him do what he wants with it and just say, whatever you want to do, we don't even care if it contradicts anything. Just make this movie and let him do it.
I would be totally down with George Lucas, doing this movie if he wanted to do it, because I think where he's at in his life, if George Lucas were to be like, I want to make an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, I would assume that he would have something up his sleeve which would be amazing, because it's not like he would just be like, oh yeah, that's fun. Yeah, let's do that. I think it would be like something where he's like, I've hacked this Gibson. I know exactly what to do, and it's going to be amazing.
And if you bring McGregor back, which you would have to, it is very well established that McGregor actually had such a good work. And the thing is, this is what a lot of people disregard, is actors who have worked with Lucas love him. Mm-hmm. A lot of the prequel actors, if you talk to them, they have nothing but praise for him.
Yeah.
And like even Christopher Lee, who had, what a storied career, was like, I love working. He's like, I'll do anything that George Lucas asks me to do.
Someone was like, I forget who the three were. It was like George Lucas, Peter Jackson, and there was some other like really big one who he worked with just recently.
He worked with Tim Burton.
No. I mean, this was like around the time, because he was like, you were in Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and something else. Like some other big, massive thing like of that scale. I forget who it was. And they're like, who's the best director out of all of them? And he's like, George Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I buy that.
And McGregor is, he actually had a good enough working relationship with Lucas that he prevailed upon Lucas to change an aspect of Episode 3 so that it played differently, and talked Lucas out of the original intent of the scene where, spoilers, Anakin is dying on the shore of the lake, the lava river. Originally, the shuttle with the Emperor was supposed to fly overhead, and McGregor was able to appeal to Lucas and say, it makes it look like Obi-Wan might not think Anakin is dead and he's running away because he's scared. And he prevailed upon Lucas to say, Obi-Wan should be leaving thinking Anakin is dead. Otherwise, him leaving is a monstrous act.
Yeah.
And it's going to play wrong. And Lucas listened to him. And I think that, if you have McGregor and Lucas back together, I feel that they both have, I mean, obviously Lucas does, but I think McGregor and Lucas working together, they can inform each other's interpretation of Obi-Wan and get it to the right spot.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I'd see that movie.
Yeah. In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So wow, that's our list of directors. Our lists of directors. If you have a director that you think would work well for an Obi-Wan movie, you can go ahead and reach out to us at thenerdparty.com/contact and look up Great Shot Kid and drop us an email. And one director, two directors. You have 20 directors that you think would be great. Feel free to reach out to us. You can also reach out to us through the network Twitter handle @JoinNerdParty. And you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/thenerdparty, and leave your comment there. We always post the shows there on the Facebook page, and you can comment on those posts. You can also reach out to us by going over to iTunes and dropping off a review for us. We would very much appreciate it. We've gotten some fantastic reviews of late, and we very much appreciate those. But a great way to get people to learn about this show, if you enjoy it, is to give an iTunes review, because that influences whether iTunes recommends it to other people. So go ahead and give us some love over on iTunes. Now, those are all the ways through the official channels and reviews that they can reach us. Mike, where can people reach you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K, or you can also find me doing commentary track stars on commentarytrackstars.com, or Soderbergh2828 on talkfilmsociety.com, or Stage 9 on Trek.fm, along with you.
Along with me and Stage 9, if you enjoy this exploration of the works of Star Wars creators. You'll enjoy an exploration of the works of Star Trek creators on Stage 9. And that show is a pip as well. And aside from this and that, you can also find me here on the Nerd Party Network with Matt Rushing, co-hosting Aggressive Negotiations, where we look at the weird nooks and crannies of the Star Wars galaxy. And you can find me co-hosting Words with Nerds with my pal Craig, where we get into a little bit of zaniness every single week. And, of course, you can look for Kessel Junkie on your social network of choice or over on KesselJunkie.com. So thank you so much for joining us. And join us next time when we will discuss the Mel Smith-directed, George Lucas-produced film comedy of the 1990s, Radioland Murders.